call the meeting back to order and go back to open meeting.
This proclamation is to rescind our membership in the No Place for Hate. We cannot join with the ADL when they refuse to recognize the genocide, and this proclamation will end that partnership. And my hope is that it will be unanimous, and I will go to my colleagues in other communities to do the same and to vote against the No Place for Hate because of the ADL partnership. Whereas the Town Council on July 12, 2005 voted unanimously to proclaim Watertown a No Place for Hate municipality. And whereas the Town Council committed to fulfill the criteria in good faith, to join with its sponsors, the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, Massachusetts Municipal Association, and other coalition members to take specific actions to combat bias and promote respect for people. And whereas the Town Council has become aware that the ADL denies the facts of the horrific Armenian Genocide that occurred from 1915 to 1923, in which the premeditated, systematic, and deliberate murders of more than 1.5 million Armenians took place, as well as continuing to deprive the Armenian people of a right to their history. The Town Council cannot continue to join with such an organization. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the city known as the Town of Watertown hereby rescinds its partnership of the No Place for Hate co-sponsored by ADL. Be it further resolved that the Town Council of the city known as the Town of Watertown, although it withdraws from the aforementioned group of municipalities, hereby proclaims that Watertown will continue to celebrate its diversity and continue to honor its tradition of tolerance and respect for all people, for which it has always been known.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Will Trombley at this point.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Council, Mr. Manager. My name is Will Trombley, and I am co-chair of the Watertown No Place for Hate Committee. Sergeant David Sampson is the other co-chair, and he and I are here on behalf of the Watertown No Place for Hate Committee to share with you the committee's response to the Anti-Defamation League's denial of the Armenian Genocide. Last evening, 13 members of the No Place for Hate Committee met personally with Andy Tarsi, director of the New England region of the New England Regional ADL office, along with two of his associates. We asked Mr. Tarsi for thorough clarification of the ADL's position on the genocide and the rationale behind it. We expressed to him our strong objection to the ADL's position. In this meeting, we learned that while the ADL acknowledges the massacre of over 1 million Armenian people between 1915 and 1923, the organization does not call this a genocide. We know that the ADL has not supported proposed legislation in the U.S. Congress that would recognize the event for what it was and pressure Turkey to do the same. I speak for the committee when I say emphatically that we find the ADL's position unacceptable. By not fully recognizing the slaughter of the Armenian people as genocide, and by not working to influence all nations of the world to set the historical record straight, the ADL is ignoring a clear moral imperative.
My name is David Boyaja, and I live at 8 Mount Ida Street in Newton. It was my letter to the Watertown tab that originally brought to light that the human rights group known as No Place for Hate has no business being sponsored by the ADL, whose leadership has long dishonored itself by lobbying Congress to diminish and deny the Armenian Genocide. For the past months, there has been a massive outpouring of support for Armenians by Jewish scholars and grassroots individuals embarrassed by the ADL. For example, May 18th, the Cleveland Jewish News genocide scholar Alan Rosenbaum wrote, quote, Unlike Abraham Foxman of the ADL, I believe that no political considerations are sufficiently worthy to falsify or ignore genocide. I respectfully request that the Town Council withdraw its endorsement of No Place for Hate. Thank you.
Mr. President, councilors, my name is Armenian 50 Watertown Street, Watertown. I ask the Watertown Council respectfully to dissociate itself from any activity and program initiated or endorsed by special interest groups. Thank you.
Mr. President, distinguished councilors, John Damasio from Copeland Street. Regardless of what the No Place for Hate Committee does with respect to their relationship to the ADL, Watertown is still tied to the ADL by the fact that the previous council passed a proclamation, and this council reasserted it. So they could divorce themselves tomorrow from the ADL, effectively just, getting rid of the program. We're still tied, and as long as we're still tied, we're condoning their position. So this council does need to have to rescind that proclamation. The burden of proof needs to be on the ADL. So if we rescind this thing and the ADL finally gets its act clean, they can come before us and we can talk about a proclamation and we can address the other concerns. But in the meantime, Watertown has always been a great and diverse community. And the best thing that we could do for the No Place for Hate Committee in terms of strengthening them is to tear down that silly sign and ship it back to the ADL postage too. I thank the council for its time.
Good evening, Mr. President, councilors. Lois Mastrangelo, 267 School Street. While the Armenian community has focused the debate on the ADL's denial of the genocide, I would like to broaden the scope of this discussion, as there are other individuals, organizations, and communities who are also aggrieved by the ADL, and few know this story. The ADL defames anyone who dares criticize Israel or expresses views and analyses of the Israel-Palestine conflict that the ADL construes as pro-Palestinian. In the last 30 years, the ADL has used its formidable resources to stifle debate about U.S. policy towards Israel, to monitor individuals and organizations and provide intelligence to local police departments, while defaming anyone who dares question ADL positions. Because of ADL labeling tactics, segments of our society, including the Arab Muslim community and Jewish peace activists, have been condemned in a climate of suspicion reminiscent of the McCarthy era. I believe Watertown should sever its relationship with the ADL and its No Place for Hate program. The Watertown community includes dedicated and creative citizens who can develop our own program, one that truly embraces diversity and respects differences of opinion. Thank you.
My name is Andy Tarsi, and I'm the Regional Director for the Anti-Defamation League in New England. ADL has acknowledged and has in fact never denied the facts of the great massacres and tragedies that have afflicted the Armenian people. There is a great deal...
Order, please.
ADL, as an organization that has a mission and a duty to protect and defend the Jewish community and also to seek justice and fair treatment for all people, finds itself playing a different role in the effort to get Turkey to recognize and reconcile with Armenians in a meaningful way. We believe that Turkey needs to do more than it has done before to recognize and reconcile and work with Armenians to come to terms. We have used the fact that because we have a large Jewish community in Turkey, and because as a Jewish community there is a great relationship between Israel and Turkey, as an opportunity to talk to the Turks candidly. And we've done that publicly and privately, and we're using this opportunity to do it even more. And that is a role that ADL can play in pushing Turkey to confront its history in a meaningful way. We do not support the congressional resolution, but we don't oppose it, and we have not lobbied against it. I believe that the resolution is the way that we can help to pressure Turkey into a greater understanding of its obligations to work toward reconciliation. Thank you for the opportunity to express my point of view.
Hey, guys.
We will have
Hope
two
you don't
more,
leave,
and that,
sir,
and that
because
will
I
be
have
it,
some
and then
facts.
we'll consider.
Nadini Badalian, 26 Walnut Street, born and raised in Watertown, Massachusetts.
All right.
I have issued the command, and I'll have anybody who utters but one word of criticism executed by a firing squad. That our war aim does not consist in reaching certain lines, but in the physical destruction of the enemy. Accordingly, I have placed my death head formations in readiness, for the present only in the east, with orders to them to send to death mercilessly and without compassion men, women, and children of Polish derivation and language. Only thus shall we gain the living space which we need. Who, after all, speaks today of the annihilation of the Armenians? August 1939, Adolf Hitler, before he invaded Poland. Since the time of Hitler's speech advocating genocidal policies in Poland, numerous institutions, organizations, and over 24 countries like Argentina, France, and Greece, countries with relatively small Armenian communities like Lithuania, Switzerland, and Slovakia, countries like Uruguay, Italy, and even Germany have chosen not to forget the Armenian genocide by passing resolutions and laws. When I look at the progress the rest of the world has made regarding this issue, I am flabbergasted that we are standing here debating this issue. I've lived in Watertown my whole life. I've never been distressed by anything. I've never experienced hate, but this is the first time that this tension has arisen. And I don't think the ADL has a monopoly on battling intolerance. I think that we can do this without the ADL. But thank you for your offer.
Good evening. My name is Mary Najimi. I live at 42 Fuller Road. I'm also Arab American, and I'm also the president of a civil rights organization called the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, an organization that I'm sure Mr. Tarsi knows very well. While the ADL does watch skinheads, and while the ADL does track the behaviors of the Klan, the ADL does not separate legitimate First Amendment protected activities of activists and organizations from the groups they term are participating in hate activity. In the 80s and 90s, the ADL paid an investigator to conduct illegal surveillances of over 950 groups and nearly 10,000 activists. In a 1993 class action lawsuit filed in San Francisco,
Mr. President, this is an outrageous list of...
in 1999,
I do not, Mr. Kazar, Mr. Kazar, I do not want to have you, Mr. Kazar, I do not want to have you removed from the room.
they have everything to do with the
Continue,
issue.
I will have you removed from the room. Everybody else respected your speech, okay?
In 1993, a class action lawsuit was filed, and by 1999, a settlement was reached. And a federal judge in California issued an injunction permanently enjoining the ADL from engaging in further illegal spying on any of the organizations that it spied on. I share the outrage of the Armenian community that the ADL refuses to recognize a genocide. That is intolerable. But it's also a larger issue, besides the ADL recognizing or not recognizing. The ADL stands for something and has an agenda, and we have to ask ourselves as a community if the ADL is the organization that we want to be aligned with, when not only do they not recognize genocides, catastrophes of other people, and civil rights of individual activists and organizers, but they also violate those civil rights. I think we need to think very carefully about any relationship with the ADL. Thank you.
Councilors, Mr. Manager, my name is Grace Collegian, 27 Carroll Street in Watertown, and I rise today briefly to offer the Armenian National Committee of Eastern Massachusetts' view on an issue of profound meaning to the Armenians of Watertown. We did not invite this controversy, sparked by the hateful words spoken on behalf of the ADL by one of its misguided officials, Abraham Foxman. Words that have grown more offensive and insulting with each new interview and article, and words that echo the denialist rhetoric of the Turkish government, and hypocritical words that strike at the very heart of the ADL's credibility, that undermine No Place for Hate's ability to make a difference, and sadly, to stain Watertown's reputation as a town that fosters diversity. So on behalf of Watertown's Armenian community and our century-long history of service and sacrifice for our town, we call upon the Town Council to disassociate itself from the ADL until such time that the Anti-Defamation League, through its national director, Mr. Foxman, openly and unequivocally acknowledges the Armenian Genocide and supports congressional affirmation of this crime against humanity. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Deacon Collegian. I live at 117 Spring Street in Watertown. We in the Armenian community appreciate the efforts made by the No Place for Hate Committee to raise this issue with the Anti-Defamation League and to question their position, particularly regarding genocide denial that they have engaged in. We heard tonight the statement that the ADL has never denied the great massacres of the Armenians. In the press, Mr. Tarsi stated, we don't deny that 1 million Armenians have been massacred, and yet he refuses to use the word genocide. As a historian, I can tell you, someone who says, yes, many people died, but it's not genocide, that is genocide denial. When Mr. Foxman, the national director of the ADL, says Congress should not be the arbiter of this, by making such a public statement, that is lobbying against that resolution. I would hope the ADL would meet with the Armenian community to discuss these issues. There are several questions that we would need to ask. For instance, Mr. Tarsi says they have not lobbied against the resolution this year. What about before? What about 2004? What about 2003? What about 2000? If the ADL has not lobbied against this resolution, then the question is, why did the executive director of the ADL meet with the foreign minister of Turkey, Abdullah Gül, just a few months ago in the United States, where the stated purpose of the meeting was to generate allies to help Turkey lobby against House Resolution 106. If they are not lobbying against it, why are they meeting with the foreign minister if that's the stated agenda? If they have not lobbied against this resolution, when it's stated in the press, in the Los Angeles Times, that a letter from the Turkish Jewish community was conveyed to the United States Congress by a number of Jewish organizations, including the ADL, and when it states in the letter it was accompanied by a cover letter urging that the Congress not endorse this resolution, that sounds like lobbying to me. We appreciate the efforts being made to try to get answers to these questions, and we hope the Council will take, as members of this community, I hope and we hope that the Council will take appropriate action to make sure that this kind of genocide denial, this kind of hypocrisy between preaching for tolerance and then acting in an intolerant manner regarding this particular issue be handled properly. Thank you very much.
My name is Ruth Tomas, and I live on Arlington Street in Watertown. I'm Executive Director of Project Save Armenian Photograph Archives. I am active in town, and I am on the No Place for Hate Committee. I happen to be the sole Armenian on the No Place for Hate Committee. Every single member of the No Place for Hate Committee, was absolutely appalled at the ADL's position on the Armenian Genocide. And I can't tell you how proud I was for that support. And we as a group are determined to carry this issue forward and make a difference. I would hope that Watertown would accept responsibility for being an agent for change. And I think we have the power to do it. We have a strong Armenian community that is out this evening, very emotional about an issue that our own United States government doesn't even acknowledge. Thank you for allowing this discussion this evening, and let's move forward. Thank you very much.
We will now go into our legislative mode for councilors to have their discussion then.
I will fully support this proclamation. Thank you.
I will say that I attended the No Place for Hate Committee meeting last evening, and I was just as surprised at the stance that the ADL is taking and not changing. And everybody that sat there was also surprised and appalled that they weren't accepting anything but that the position they're taking, and that's their position, and I think that's a problem for the town of Watertown. I think by Watertown withdrawing its support for this program, it's sending a message to the ADL. Other cities and towns around here may withdraw their support. I think that sends a very clear message to the ADL that something's wrong, and they need to do something about it. And I will be supporting the resolution, the proclamation.
This proclamation that Councilor Devaney has brought forth is a great step for Watertown and helps Watertown lead this country in opening the doors to the improper stance that the ADL stands for. And I hope that more than just the Armenian community can get together and open the doors for all kinds of people, including the Muslim Americans that were represented here tonight. Thank you.
Council doesn't usually get placed in a situation where a decision is really trying to affect, I guess, national or state politics of some kind. I will support this proclamation because I feel that we should not be placed in this situation. But at the same time, I would really like to see us reconstitute the program under a different name, under our own sponsorship. I don't think that we need to have a national organization as a sponsor for the program. Thank you.
I will also be voting for the proclamation, but I just want to reiterate again that the No Place for Hate Committee, these people of Watertown who donate their time, had no idea of this. They had absolutely no idea of this association and this denial of the Armenian Genocide until recently, and they have fought against it and are trying to do a lot of good in this community. And we do have to, as Councilor Corbett said, come up with another group under a different name and continue the good progress that they've made in other areas.
On behalf of myself and the Town Council, I want to apologize to what happened to the Armenian community. You've been through enough. To go through this again is wrong.
We have not had this outpouring of emotion for some years. And I want to commend you for coming out and expressing, because when I first entered the chamber this evening, you don't really know how you're going to vote. You wait and you hear what the testimony is going to be. It's not only the ADL in terms of the Armenian Genocide that we have to be concerned about, but it's important also that we use our pressure points to change our national leadership so that they, in turn, actually say it's time that we recognize that Turkey did commit this atrocious act. So I will be also voting for this proclamation as well.
Motion that we accept and vote for this proclamation to sever all ties with the No Place for Hate Committee and the ADL.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Marilyn Devaney,
Yes.
John Donahue?
Yes.
Angie Canales? Yes. John Long?
Yes.
Steve Romanelli?
Yes.
Mark Sideris?
Yes.
Steve Corbett?
Yes.
Clyde Younger?
Yes.